Okay, so let me just spill it all. I'm going to tell you the truth about what it really feels like to be cheated on. Because honestly, nobody prepares you for the absolute chaos that rips through your entire life when it happens. And before you roll your eyes and think, oh, another person whining about heartbreak, let me stop you right there. This isn't just about heartbreak. This is about sanity, about survival. About picking up shards that used to be your trust and trying not to bleed out on the kitchen floor. My name is Emily, and if you've ever been lied to, betrayed, or made to feel less than by someone who promised you forever, then this story is for you. It started like any other cliche. I was in love. I mean, stupidly in love. The kind where you think their weird laugh is cute and their socks on the bathroom floor are endearing instead of annoying. We'd been together for almost 3 years when it happened. His name was Ryan. Picture a guy with a crooked smile, messy hair, and the sort of charm that makes you believe he's incapable of hurting anyone, least of all you. I remember the night I found out as if it's tattooed on the inside of my eyelids. We'd gone to a friend's party, everything was normal, or so I thought. I was wearing my favorite blue dress, the one he said brought out my eyes. He'd been distant lately, blaming work stress and family drama, but I ignored it because I didn't want to be that girlfriend. You know the type, paranoid, insecure, nagging. I left my phone in his car by accident when we got back from the party, and when I went out to get it later that night, heart pounding because something just felt off, I saw his phone lighting up on the passenger seat. That's when I saw her name, Mia. You know that feeling when your stomach drops so hard it feels like gravity itself is punishing you? That's what it felt like reading her messages pop up over and over. Can't stop thinking about last night, miss you already, wish she wasn't home. I stood there in the dark garage with only the glow of his phone lighting up my shaking hands. At first I thought no, I hoped it was innocent. Maybe she was a friend from work, maybe it meant nothing. But deep down, that little voice, the one we all try so hard to ignore, kept whispering that something was very, very wrong. He came outside a minute later and saw me standing there with his phone in my hand. His face changed instantly, all color drained from his cheeks. He tried to laugh it off. Hey babe, what are you doing out here? But his eyes darted everywhere but at me. Maybe if I'd thrown his phone at him or screamed or cried right then and there, things would have played out differently. But I didn't do any of those things. Instead, I just shut down. Like a computer freezing up after too many tabs have been opened for too long. Everything around me blurred except for those words on the screen. He stammered and tried to explain. Said Mia was just a friend who misunderstood things, that he'd never cheat on me, not in a million years. But his voice sounded far away and so obviously fake that something inside me snapped. I walked past him into the house without saying a word. My mind raced with memories. Every late night at work, every time he pulled away from my kiss, every weird excuse about why he needed space but loved me so much. And they all clicked together like puzzle pieces, spelling out one ugly word: betrayal. The next morning he tried again. Flowers on the kitchen table, tears in his eyes, a performance worthy of an Oscar nomination. He swore nothing happened, begged me not to leave him, said he'd die without me, which felt manipulative even then. Part of me wanted to believe him because believing him meant not having to admit that everything we built together was a lie. But then something strange happened. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and realized how tired I looked. Not just physically tired, but soul tired from carrying the weight of someone else's insecurity for so long. And here's where it gets real. Being cheated on felt less like someone choosing another person over me and more like someone giving up on themselves while dragging me down with them. I know what you're thinking. How can someone who says they love you do something so cruel? Is it because you weren't enough? Were you too boring, too emotional, not pretty enough? Should you have tried harder? Let me stop you right there. Because these thoughts haunted me day and night for months after Ryan cheated on me. Every time my phone buzzed with a new text message from friends checking in or family trying not to pry too much into my personal life, but obviously prying, my heart would leap into my throat. Was this pity? Was everyone talking about how he left me for someone prettier, smarter, funnier? I started scrolling through Instagram late at night, comparing myself to every girl Ryan ever followed, wondering if she was taller or thinner or had better hair than me. It became an obsession. I couldn't help myself. But here's what nobody tells you. Cheating isn't really about the person being cheated on at all. It took endless sleepless nights and more self-help podcasts than I care to admit before this truth finally broke through. People who cheat are insecure at their core. They're scared of being vulnerable or facing their own flaws, so they look for validation somewhere else, anywhere else, even if it means destroying someone they claim to love along the way. It wasn't about Mia being better than me or Ryan not loving me enough. It was about Ryan not knowing how to love himself without needing someone else's attention every 5 minutes. And suddenly, instead of feeling broken or inadequate or unlovable, I started feeling sorry for him. Don't get me wrong, it still hurt like hell. There were still nights spent crying into my pillow until my eyes were swollen shut. Still days where seeing couples holding hands made me want to scream into the void. Still mornings where getting out of bed felt impossible because why bother if nobody ever stays? But slowly, so slowly, I started realizing that none of this pain meant I was worthless. I stopped blaming myself for his choices because those choices were never about me. They were about him not valuing himself enough to treat anyone, including himself, well. It's easy to demonize cheaters, to call them monsters or narcissists or sociopaths. But here's another uncomfortable truth. Most people who cheat aren't evil villains twirling their mustaches in dark corners plotting our destruction. They're just deeply flawed humans trying and failing to fill holes inside themselves with attention or excitement or novelty instead of doing the hard work of healing their own wounds. And yes, that realization pissed me off. Because why should their baggage become my problem? Why does their inability to face themselves mean have to pick up broken pieces? But also, weirdly, it helped set me free. Because if cheating wasn't proof that I'm not lovable or enough, then maybe, just maybe, I could start believing that again myself. There's this quote people always say after breakups: if they really loved you, they wouldn't have done it. And sure, that sounds comforting in theory, but in reality, human beings are messy as hell. Sometimes people love us as much as they can but still hurt us anyway, because loving someone else requires loving yourself first. And some people just haven't figured that part out yet. So if you're sitting here right now feeling gutted because someone cheated on you, please hear this. It is not your fault. You didn't make them cheat by being too much or too little. You didn't drive them away by caring too deeply. You didn't force them into anyone else's arms by daring to trust them with your heart. They cheated because they are insecure, because they haven't learned how to value themselves yet. And until they do, they'll keep breaking hearts, including their own. For weeks after Ryan moved out, after one final blowout fight where he admitted everything, people kept telling me how lucky I was that he left, that now I could find someone better who would actually appreciate what they had. At first, those words stung because they sounded so hollow coming from people who hadn't seen how perfect we used to be together, who hadn't seen all our inside jokes or lazy Sunday mornings spent wrapped up in each other. But now I see what they meant. Staying angry at him wouldn't heal anything, and holding on to shame about what happened would only poison whatever came next for me. So instead, I started repeating something every morning like a mantra. I'm enough. 3 simple words, but somehow more powerful than any apology Ryan could ever give me. I'm enough even if someone else couldn't see it at the time. I'm enough even if they chose chaos over commitment. I'm enough even when I feel completely broken inside. And guess what? Slowly but surely, the cracks started letting light back in again instead of just darkness and pain. A few months after everything exploded with Ryan, and yes, there were plenty of awkward run-ins at mutual friends' parties, something wild happened. I met someone new. His name is Ben. And before you roll your eyes at how quickly people move on these days, please understand. Ben didn't fix everything overnight, but he did show up for me in ways Ryan never could have dreamed of doing. He listened without judgment when I told him about my fears. He laughed at my dumbest jokes and held my hand during panic attacks. He never made excuses when things got hard. Instead, he leaned in closer, like maybe loving someone broken could be beautiful instead of burdensome. And while Ben is wonderful, the real hero here is me, because none of this would have been possible if I hadn't finally learned how valuable I am regardless of who decides to stick around. So here's what I want everyone listening right now, especially if you've been betrayed, to take away from my story. It doesn't matter how many times someone says it was just a mistake, or she didn't mean anything. Their actions are never about your worthiness. They're always about their own battles and insecurities. And yes, it sucks beyond belief, but sometimes getting cheated on is actually dodging a bullet disguised as heartbreak, because now you get another chance. Another chance at loving yourself harder than anyone else ever could, and another chance at meeting someone who actually deserves access to your beautiful heart. But also a little mercy for those who cheat, especially young ones still growing. Because yeah, it's disgusting behavior, but most people are just learning as they go along. We're all human after all, even if some lessons come wrapped in barbed wire. And maybe forgiveness isn't always possible, but understanding can help us move forward without dragging old wounds everywhere we go. Don't let anyone convince you you're less than because somebody couldn't handle their own issues. You are enough. You'll always be enough. The right person is waiting just around the corner, even if right now it feels like every corner is dark and lonely. But most importantly, you survived. You made it through something meant to break you. And nobody, not even Ryan with his charming lies, can ever take that away from you. Oh, and one last thing before I go. Do you want to know what Mia messaged me 6 months later? She said she wished she'd never gotten involved with Ryan, that he ended up cheating on her too, that she finally understood what I went through, that she hoped someday we could both forgive ourselves for loving someone who didn't know how to love anybody, not even himself. And reading her message, a wave of relief washed over me, not because she suffered too, but because finally I knew for sure it really was never about me.